and tactics surrounding the artillery of the 18th and 19th century. So to start off with, we're going to go over a few of the basics. Our 18th century light bronze 3-pounder over here is crewed by a variety of gentlemen from throughout the 18th century. A couple of French Marines from the 1750s, a couple of from the 1760s, and one American from the 1770s. Now, as for what we are going to be doing with this type of gun, cannons like this are usually going to be used on the battlefield by infantrymen who are trained by artillerymen to shoot straight through things. Things like buildings, or ships, or people just like you. Now, when we're talking about these types of guns, you heard me refer to it earlier as a 3-pounder. Does that thing look like it weighs 3 pounds? No. No, so why do we call it a 3-pounder?
The weight of the shot.
It weighs 3 pounds. It would be about this big, the size of my fist, and it would have a 1-pound bag of gunpowder behind it. Does that sound terrifying to you? A cannonball the size of my fist? No. Yes. No, thank you for being honest. Now, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Fired out of a gun like this, a cannonball the size of my fist will go through 14 human bodies lined up in a row. Does that sound a little bit more terrifying? Yes. Thank you for admitting that. So, ladies and gentlemen, considering I said it will go through 14 human bodies, what is the main target of this gun going to be? Humans! Soldiers! Standing in a row, kind of like you are right now. So not only is this meant to put holes in humans, but let me ask a very rational and reasonable question to a rational, reasonable person in the audience, namely you. If you saw a cannonball flying straight towards your face, what would you do? What? I guess there's something to do. Maybe like duck or dodge or get out of the way. Yeah, exactly. But when you are ducking and dodging and getting out of the way, you are also bumping into the soldiers next to you and causing a panic in the line. Not only a panic in the line, but also causing those gentlemen not to be able to load and fire their guns as quickly back at you. So not only do we put holes in you, we put holes in you so you can't put holes in us. Now, the range on this particular kind of gun is about half of a mile out, so it's not the longest range gun in the world. But let me put it to you like this. Even at half a mile away, we still outrange a musket shot. So we can put holes in you so you can't put holes in us before you can even hope to put holes in us. Now, look at the crew over here. You might see guns in cartoons where there's one person operating a cannon and it's as simple as that. Reality is much harsher than fiction. It takes all of these gentlemen and myself to make this gun function properly, swiftly, efficiently, safely, every 30 seconds. So that is the amount of time we are generally going to spend between shots, 30 seconds. We're going to show you what it takes to load and fire an 18th century cannon right now. Gun take. And vent. Will is taking his thumb and placing it over the vent at the back of the gun. At the back of every one of these guns, there is a hole where we will place our fuse charge or simply a fuse later. But for right now, all it's doing is letting oxygen into the barrel, fueling the fires of whatever is left over from the last shot. Do you want to load gunpowder on top of something that is still on fire? No. Thank you for the resounding no. So before we remove whatever is left over, we have to make sure that the fire isn't going to get any bigger. Will stopping that vent is ensuring that we are safe while doing it. Search speed. And he takes a wad hook or a worm, which is like a 2-pronged metal corkscrew, to scrape out the interior of the gun and forcibly remove leftover debris. Sponge piece. Listen very carefully. That popping sound you just heard was Jack using the sponge properly. The sponge may look like a wet Q-tip meant to soak the inside of the gun, but its main purpose is not to soak the gun. It is just to create a vacuum in the barrel. By forcing the air out of the gun as it is inserted, and creating that vacuum as it is withdrawn, it ensures that there is now no oxygen left in the barrel, therefore nothing can still be on fire, therefore we are safe to load the gun. Handling charge. Advancing charge. Load. Ram down charge. Everything that we have just done involves getting the proper round for the proper occasion from the box up to the front of the gun. When you ram the charge down, it positions the bag of gunpowder I mentioned earlier directly under the vent that Will has been tending this entire time. And on the command, pick and prime, he finally removes his thumb from the vent, and he will take a brass needle, insert that down the vent, and puncture the bag of gunpowder we just rammed down. Into that puncture, he will pour a charge of loose powder that will act as our fuse. Now we go over to Lee, who holds the lint stock. This device is what we will be using to touch fire directly to that charge of loose powder. It consists of a piece of cord soaked in chemicals to allow it to burn slowly and intensely, like a lit cigarette. It's at the end of a long stick for Lee's own safety, because this gun, like every gun, recoils when fired. And this particular style of gun was infamous for leaping back about 8 feet when fired. So if Lee was standing directly on top of the gun to fire it, chances are he would find himself run over. So that long stick for the lint stock allows him to avoid such a thing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I advise that if you do not like loud noises, now is the time to cover your ears. Gun for make ready! Fire! Ladies and gentlemen, that was but a very short flash course in artillery from the 18th century. But I will now turn it over to Eric and his battery to educate you all on battery techniques of the 19th century.